Hello and welcome back to the STB Racing League. Here today we are here for the season 20 Canadian Grand Prix at the beautiful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Today I'll be commentating on my own as Mali cannot be here with us tonight, unfortunately. He's got some other purposes to fill today. So you have to deal with me. As I said, we're racing at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal. It's a fantastic track for league racing, and it's a fantastic track in real life as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing F1 go back to here in real life in a few months. It's been a long break as Akosili goes P1. Very tight margins between P1 and P2. There's a lot of chicanes at this track, as you can see. It's pretty much all chicanes and a hairpin, so it's an important track to get the setup right, and it's different to all the other tracks. It's of course high on tire wear as well. I'm expecting a two-stop race from some of the drivers. One stop was the best strategy though in Tier 1 yesterday, as I found out the hard way. And yeah, I'm expecting a good race. We're here in the middle of qualifying. I had some issues with starting up the stream, so we've joined in a bit late, so we've only got 5 minutes to go. So the order is already there. Currently it's looking like Rockery and Akosili are the ones fighting for that pole position here. And they've got quite a big gap to RWB and Mafio in P3 and P4. Let's have a look if anyone's on the flyer. Doesn't really look like it, but Char F1 is. Canada is a very great track for qualifying. Char's 2/10 up. In the first sector he goes on the grass a little bit, which won't help his exit. It's probably gonna cause some instability in his car. He'll keep that instability going into this chicane with the dirty tires. You can see him sliding around a little bit, not taking the optimum amount of curb. He still gets through unscathed. He's 2/10 up. If he manages to keep this up, he'll jump to around P7. Into the wall of Champion Chicane he will go. Of course, this is the most famous corner on this track. We've seen some big accidents here in the past, and he goes P7 as I predicted. And we've seen some champions go into the wall there as well, which is why it's called the Wall of Champions. So we've got some connection issues with some of the drivers, so I'm just gonna have to talk that through. And just to confirm, Nicky's got some connection issues, so he unfortunately won't be racing with us tonight. That's very unfortunate, because he is the season 19 champion, of course, and he's looking good for a title fight this year as well. Right then, let's get back to qualifying. Rockery is going to start. No, it's going to come across the line for one of his final laps. I think he's going to start his final lap here. Let's go on board for a lap of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Into turn 1 is important to compromise the corner, open up turn 2 to get this exit right, and that's important. He gets it nicely, rotates it on the throttle, which is nicely into the first real chicane of the track, cutting as much of the inside as possible and opening up that second corner once again, so we can keep it flat through there. Through the first sector split, he's up. He's down on his time, so that's not good to see. And yeah, it's just chicane mania around here. This is one of the chicanes where you can compromise the second one instead of the first, as he does, and he's out of qualifying, and that's qualifying over for Rockery. Let's take over with Akosili, who's now in good shape for that pole position. Into the turn 5, 6 chicane he goes, or 7, 6, 7, I don't even know the correct name around there. Through the fast right-hander, where we've seen some Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso action in the past. There's a traffic jam at the hairpin, and that's not gonna help him. That's gonna distract him very much, but he does manage to keep it nice and tight through the hairpin. He rotates the car on the traction a lot. I'm not sure what that's gonna do to his exit, but it seemed quite tidy. Right, then final straight into the Wolf Champion chicane. And he sends it through there. Absolute maximum commitment from Akosili, and this is surely gonna be a pole time. Fantastic lap from him, 1 minute 8.4, and that is a quality lap. David Game is on a lap as well. I've not seen too much of him. We've not seen too much of any of the drivers, to be fair, because of me not being able to start the stream up until there's only 5 minutes to go. But David Game is looking strong here. He's on a 9.2 currently, and I think he'll be improving on the P7 on the grid. Bose and Basso go P3 and 4 for Alfa Romeo. It's looking good for them, and David Game just invalidates at the final corner. That's so unfortunate. Crooken's P10 currently, and I think it's gonna stay that way, which is unfortunate because P10 is definitely not a place you want to start at. RWB though is improving by 2 tenths, but he doesn't get the best of lines through the final chicane. I think he can still keep that improvement up though. Let's see what position he gets, and he backs out of it. Did he do his qualifying time on mediums? Yes, he did. So he's starting on the medium tire, and he's probably going to be the only one in the top 10 to start on those mediums. Then his qualifying finished, and his pole for Akosili. So that's a fantastic job from him. It was a great lap to see, and very committed. Then Rockery is going to line up P2, which he probably will be disappointed by, seeing as he crashed out on his final lap. Let's have a look who's in P3 then. P3 will be RCX Bose. P4 will be Basso, so they're wrapping it up for Alfa Romeo. P5 is RWB, but he's got a 5-place grid penalty, so he'll be starting P10. P6 TRT Mafia, a bit disappointing from him, but it's alright. David Game P7, Shar F1 P8, Trolley in P9, Crooker rounding out the top 10. Iwardi P11, Salvador P12, Moises P13, and I wasn't quick enough, so I couldn't see the rest of the order. Fantastic. Right, and it seems drive for the race, which is not a guarantee at Canada, of course. We've seen a lot of wet races around here, most notably 2011, sorry, with Jenson Button winning the race after making 6 pit stops. One of the best races in F1 history, if not the best race. We'll be starting in 20 seconds, and it's going to be interesting to see which tires the drivers outside the top 10 start on. Of course, inside the top 10 is all soft, and I think RWB on the mediums. then. So it's RWB on mediums inside the top 10. Rest of them are softs. Iwardi elects the medium tire as well. Behind him there's a lot of soft runners, which is surprising to me. And Dambles once again starting outside the top 10 on those medium tires. I'm sure he can get a good start and work his way up the grid with some good racecraft. Sargento is on softs as well. Sergio on hards, which is not a tire you want to be on this track. I'm not sure why he went for the hard tire. And P18 is Dilemma on softs, and Nicky of course will be racing tonight, so that's unfortunate. Right then, Akosili coming across the hairpin on the formation lap. I'm predicting a fight between Akosili and Rockery for the lead here today, and the final podium spot will be up for grabs. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go to Mr. TRT Mafia himself. He's always been quite handy around Canada, and he did have some problems in the Tier 1 race yesterday, but I'm sure he can sort those problems out here today. I think he'll be looking strong for a podium. Right then, drivers are starting to line up to the grid. It's almost time for lights out. Here we go. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights out, and away we go. I think Rockery got a good start here. Yeah, he's already up into P1. He's absolutely bolted from the start. It's 2 wide action at the back, 3 wide into turn 2. I think they've all kept it clean, but is that going to remain the same through turn 2? No, it isn't. There's contact between Shar F1 and another driver. Shar F1 just lost out on quite some places there. But crucially, Rockery's picked up the lead of the race, and I think they've all got through unscathed. Let's have a look at the back. And there's Aston Martin really struggling, and it's Sergio. I told him to struggle on those hards, and he did. Sargento is all the way around. He's not managed to get through unscathed. That's unfortunate for him. The rest of the drivers have kept it clean, and it's a relatively clean start here at Canada. Mafios had a fantastic start. He went from P5 all the way up to P3. Same goes for Cochrane. He's gained a lot of places from P9 on the grid as well. Fantastic work from the Haas drivers. But Mafios got CDR Basso all the way, pushing behind him. And as you can see, Cochrane, RWB and Scuderia are the biggest gainers of the start. Of course, Dilemma's picked up 4 positions as well, but he started virtually last, and he only gained positions because other drivers had problems. Bose though started in P3, and he is all the way down to P18. He's had some trouble in turn 1, I didn't see that. Or on lap 1, I didn't see that. But he's out of contention for a podium here today. We're almost going into lap 3, the lap in which DRS will be enabled. I think Akosili will be sticking with Rockery, and they'll be pulling away from the rest of the pack here with the pace that they've got. Mafios in P3, and he'll have a tough time defending from Basso. David Game is looking decent in P5 as well, and Cochrane has already picked up a penalty, and it's only lap 3. He's got RW behind him as well. Yellow flag, and Bose has already given up on his race. I think, no, he hasn't. He's still keeping on going. DRS has now been enabled, so now it's time to start to see some of the passes. There's a yellow flag. I think there's a spinner. It's Dambos all the way at the back who spun it at the chicane. Yeah, the chicane. The whole track is the chicane, sorry. And I think there's some things going on at the back here as well. I can't see with a good camera view, but they seem to be struggling quite a bit. There seems to be some contact at the back as well. Now it's Basso's time to try and get past Maffio. Maffio bolts into the... No, he doesn't. He doesn't bolt in the pit. He's made a massive mistake there, and there goes his chances of getting a good result as well. I don't know what happened there, but he completely lost the car on entry. There's drivers pitting already, and it's only lap 3. Both Red Bulls are in the box. Dambos is retired from the session. And as I suspected, is Rockery and Akosili pulling away from the rest of the pack. They're already 2 seconds clear of Basso, and it's only lap 4. Basso seems to have some good pace though. He's pulled away a second from David Game in the last 2 laps. Crooken's keeping up as well. I think David Game is struggling a bit. RWP is looking good as well on those medium tires. He's in P6 right now. Already made his way up to P6 from P10 on the grid. I think he had a fantastic start there. Cochran is going for a move on David Game. I reckon he's deploying his battery. No, he's not going for the move either. Interesting. His yellow flag in sector 3. Scuderia has retired from the session, and he's had a massive accident. And yeah, that warrants a safety car here. That's the first safety car of the race. It's going to be interesting to see what the drivers end up doing on the strategy front. I think the soft drivers will box for mediums and go for a 2-stop. At least that's what I would do, I think. Bose is now back in contention in this race as well, so that's good to see. And yes, they do indeed box every single one of them, apart from the ghost of that's controlling Nicky's car. But everyone's boxed apart from RWB, so he's not really in a good position. Yes, he's in the lead, but he's on those 5 lap mediums. Really has nullified the race here. The track's gonna be catching up, and I think we're in for an exciting one here. There's still 17 drivers left in this race. and Sharp 1 has disconnected from the race, so I will send him an invite back quickly as I can. And he's disconnected, so I can't see it from. Great. Let's have a look. And I think we're going racing. Sorry, I've missed it a bit there. There's and David Games off the track. Apart from that, I think they're keeping it clean. No, they're going side by side to turn 4. Sorry for missing that. I was trying to get Sharp into the lobby. Matthew's now got 2 ghosted cars ahead of him, which is going to be rough. Yeah, they've all kept it relatively clean. There's a bit of a gap forming, but RWB seems to be struggling. His tires are old, and you can tell. He's right up his back. There's a yellow flag. Sergio's gone off at the chicane. When RWB makes a big mistake on traction out of the hairpin, there's now a chance for Rookie to get back into the lead. They're both deploying their ERS. They're both going side by side. It's neck and neck going into the Wall of Champions. Who braves it out is RWB. Rookie now has messed it up. There's a chance for Akasili to get back past. Some firm defense from RWB there. He didn't leave him any space, but I reckon it's justified. You don't go side by side in the Wall of Champions. That's not the way to do it. Rookie, that's not the way to overtake round here. And I think he knows that. Very keen to keep that lead, but he's only 1/10 ahead of Rookie here. They're going side by side once again, this time into another chicane. Rookie thinks better of it this time, but he's got a good exit and he might be able to go for a move into the hairpin. Yes, he will. And RW isn't gonna make it too hard this time. Rookie doesn't leave him any space though, and that enables Akosili to get through as well. RW is not gonna be very happy with that. Really got forced out wide there. And now side by side into the World Champions chicane once again. This time Akosili braves it out. And RWB is really falling down the order here. Basso is going to be the next one to try to go for a move into turn 1. He goes, thinks better of it. RWB defends very nicely. And now there's a bit of a train forming between the top 8 and the rest of the guys. Sharp 1 is back in the lobby. He seems to be struggling a bit. So it's going to be between the top 8 guys for the podium and the wins here. It's going to be penalties, which is going to decide it probably. This is what I'm here for. This is what I like to see. Some good racing between the top drivers who are all in each other's DRS. There's a big DRS train forming and I'm here for it. Silly crucially has already picked up a penalty and it's only lap 10 of the race. So that's going to be crucial for the race results here in the end, especially if it stays tight like this. There's a yellow flag and I wore the HD has crashed and that's a virtual safety car here. What's happened to him? He's without a front wing and he probably has span off the exit of that chicane. This is going to be RWB's chance to pit, I think, and switch to a 2-stop, but he keeps on going. He decides to stick with the 1-stop strategy here. I'm not sure if that was the right call, RWB, I'm not sure. Because he's got no chance of winning this race. I think he's got to go and solve everyone else. Is quicker than him at the moment and they will stay quicker than him. Oh, and RWB's just picked up a penalty under the safety car. That's also not what you want to be doing ideally. And the VSC has ended. RWB has glitched a bit there. He's out. of podium contention here, and David Game is going for an ambitious move. RWB sends it around the outside. David Game is having none of it. He's going side by side with RWB once again. They make contact on the straight, a bit of wheel banging. David Game tries to go for a switchback, but that's not possible when you've got cars behind you, lad. And RWB maintains that position with a beautiful move around the outside there. And now once again the top two are starting to pull away. Basso's not got DRS, so it's all back to normal now, I think. Side by side action between the two Haas boys though. Cochran and Maffio going for it. Cochran down the inside. Maffio goes out wide, and Cochran is going for a beautiful move on Maffio. They make a tiny bit of contact, but that was racing at its finest. Fantastic move from Cochran, who picks up a penalty for good measure as well. Don't get too happy with your moves, because you end up picking up warnings. And that's the second penalty of the race, so I think in the race result is not going to be too high up the pecking order. But on track, he'll be able to do himself some good. And Basso managed to get back in the DRS, so that's good pace from him. So we like to see. The fastest lap in as well, so he's really pulling it back together. RWB's outside of his DRS though. RWB is really struggling on those older mediums. David Game is looking to go for a move as well. There's a yellow flag in the second sector. There's a spinner. It's Shah F1. He spun it on traction at the chicane. And now it's starting to turn into a fight for top 3. Basso out of nowhere has entered the fight for the race win here. Rockery currently the only one without a penalty in the top 3. There's side by side action at the back as well. David Game is getting past RWB. Dilemma's made his way up into P6. Fantastic from him. Oh, and there's a retiree. Is Shah F1. He's decided to stop the pain and retire in the pits. What is looking like Bose is going to go for a move on Salvador here. Sergio picks up a penalty as well. Let's have a look at the front. Right on the back of Dilemma. The two Haas boys still at the back of this front train. Rockery's now picked up a penalty as well, so now all the top 3 have picked up a penalty. Bose gets past Salvador and he's trying to cling on to that fight for the lead, but the problem is he's 4 seconds behind, so he's got a lot of time to make up for. Salvador moves very late, but Moises manages to get a move through here. Oh, and it's contact, and they're both in the wall. And that's unfortunate once again. Salvador makes contact with another car, and that's surely gonna be a safety car, or at least a virtual one. Yep. Ah, that's unlucky. Wasn't needed, lads. Luckily there's not going to be a real safety car, it's going to stay virtual. So it's going to be important for all the drivers to get a good restart with regards to DRS if you drop out of the DRS here at Canada. As Rockery has had a fantastic restart. He's 1.4 seconds ahead of Akosili right now. Fantastic stuff from him. So Akosili now has to push to get back in that DRS zone. Just to show his full hand. Basso has got a good restart. He stayed with Akosili. And I think Akosili will be able to regain that 1/10 needed to get back in that DRS zone. He's already only... Yeah, he's back in it. He's not going to have it on this straight, but he is going to have it, I think. David Game then is leading a train for P4, which consists of RWB on those old mediums, Dilemma, Cochran and TRT Mafio. Mafio is barely clinging on though. He's 9/10 behind Cochran, who seems to have really got some good pace in that house mobile of his. Yes, Akosili has managed to get back in the DRS. I think Akosili's with the upper hand pace wise, but Rockery is still ahead on track. Basso now really close to Akosili. Basso has also got some fantastic pace in his car. And there's a low flag in sector 1. Is iWardy HD, who's had a spin there, I think. Still no overtaking going on in both front trains. But I think once we get to the pit stop phase, and after that pit stop phase, all hell is gonna break loose. I think the undercut is very powerful at Canada as well, so if you're last in that train like TRT Mafia boxing 2 laps earlier, for those new mediums might result in you gaining 4 places on track, which is certainly something worth thinking of. It's looking like David Game and Bose are the only ones who have not picked up a penalty so far, and that's going to be crucial for that end result. If David Game can keep this pace up and not pick up penalties, he might be in for a podium still. And Ward, he has retired from the session. He's given up on this race. They've only got 14 runners remaining, as Nicky is not in control of his car. Akosili, sorry, goes deep into turn 1. That might have consequences for him. Can Basso go for a move? Oh, he can't, and it's still the same pecking order in the train behind them as well. Not really a lot going on at the moment, just cars following each other around. RWB is keeping up, so that's good for him. He can go on to the soft at the end of the race here. I reckon Dilemma might be able to go for a move here and maybe get P5. He's always had a hand of crashing or making contact with other drivers and not keeping it clean and consistent. But currently he's doing very well. He started way down the grid, I think in around P18. Let's have a look how many positions he's gained during this race. Yes, he started P18, he's gained 12 positions, which is a fantastic race from him so far. And David James made a mistake. RWB is going to be able to go for a move here into turn 1. They're going to go side by side, and RWB certainly was the superior driver on those old mediums, still getting past him. There's a yellow flag. Sergio has spinned it at the wall of champions, I think. What's going on here? Yeah, he's had a spin of some kind. And Mafio has decided to do what I told him to do, and that is box a bit earlier. He's going for that massive undercut, which could potentially have huge benefits for him. And I think if I was the other drivers, I'd be reacting to him and pitting this lap as well. So yellow flag in sector 2. His TRT trolley has made a mistake. He's off the track, and Mafio is already overtaken Sargento. Basso's getting really close to Aqua City as well. None of those guys pitting, but as I say that, that's a classic bit of commentators. First Basso goes into the wall and probably has picked up some front wing damage by doing that. So unfortunate for him. Cochran reacts by boxing, which is I think a good call. Both boxers as well. I think if I was him, I would have boxed a bit earlier or waited to go for the soft. And he is going for softs. Interesting. There's 14 laps to go, so it's a long while for those. Oh, he needs a new front wing. That's why he's boxing. Let's have a look. Then Basso has caught back up, and has he not broken his front wing there? If that's the case, it's an absolute wonder. And Rockery's picked up a penalty, another one. Akosili has gone off the track as well, and suddenly it's all back into Basso's favor once again after making that big mistake last lap. Let's have a look if one of the drivers elects to box this lap, and or if they will split the strategy by some of them going for softs and some of them going on hard. See, Mafio has absolutely had a massive I think sorry for that, my controller went off. I think Basso might have a bit of wing damage judging by that line through the final chicane. But look at this, Mafio's already 2 seconds ahead of Cochran by boxing 1 lap earlier. That's fantastic stuff from him. And he's definitely gonna undercut everyone. I think he might even be able to join into that fight for the lead. They've all not boxed yet either. And it's a strategy masterclass from TRT Mafia here, unless of course there's going to be a safety car within the next few laps. I expect RWB to box around this lap as well. Let's have a look at the lead pack. No overtakes being made just yet, and I don't expect that to change. As I say that though, Basso once again really close up the back of Akosili, and he is going for a move. No, he's not. He just and they all don't box either. RWB doesn't box either on those old medium. So I think they're all hanging it out and trying to go for soft in a few laps time. Mafio puts in the fastest lap for good measure as well. He's really pushing here right now. Ooh, and I think Akosili is gonna be able to go for a move into turn 1 here now, but I don't think he wants to lead. I think he's trying to stay second, as finally some guys are boxing. RWB and David Game have decided to box. It was really time for them to box. Mafio now is gonna come across the line, and look how much his time is gained. Look how far he's gonna be ahead. Of course those guys are gonna be on sauce, but Mafio is already coming through turn 2 here. And they're gonna be behind Crookren, or are they? No, they're not. Crookren has not had the pace to undercut them here. That's interesting because he did box quite a lot earlier. So that undercut should have been powerful, and now he's really not in a good position for this race. And lead pack still continuing on those 18 lap old mediums. Basso once again very close to Akosili, and Akosili has let him past. So it's now Basso in P2, and that's his first overtake in the top few positions. Basso is in the box as well. Akosili keeps on going, and this is going to be crucial. If Basso can get a good undercut here, he'll be in the lead by an absolute country mile, I think. Especially if he goes on sauce, which he does. It's looking good for Basso here. It's looking very good for Basso. Let's stay on board with him and see where he exits on track and where his rivals will come out in that fight for the lead. Exit just ahead of Mafio, which is fantastic. As I said, Mafio is now in that fight for the lead and might even exit ahead of some of the lead drivers. Basso then has to push this lap, and he knows that he's deploying that overtake in a place where he normally wouldn't deploy it. Once again deploying overtake on this straight as well. He's already pulled out a second gap to TRT Mafio. Into this chicane he goes for commitment as well, once again deploying that overtake, and it's looking very, very good for him here. Let's see if Rockery decides to pit. Yes, he does. And Akosili follows him in. It's Basso's time to shine here. Can he make that undercut work? Can he get the lead of the race? And can he get out of the DRS zone of the drivers ahead? Mafio has managed to cling onto that DRS as well, which is crucial. Into the wall of champion chicane, he goes right up to the wall. He's really pushing it here. And he's got the undercut move, and it's worked out beautifully. It's worked out an absolute treat. Rocker is going to exit behind Mafio, I think. Yes, he is, and he's now got a car between himself and and they're going side by side. They make a bit of contact. Rocker is across the grass. Silly's lost that big time as well. He's now down into P7. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he probably either had a penalty or had to replace his front wing. He's lost that on a lot of positions here. And and that's a that's not what you like to do, Mafia. That's not what I want to see here from you. That's not what I expect to see. And it's a safety car. Mafio just goes to safety car, but that was a very, very stupid move from Rocky, and I think the stewards will penalize him for that. He won't be happy. And if I was Cochran, I would box here for softs. He's got a big gap. He's on those 5 lap hot mediums. He's only going to lose 1 or 2 positions. Apart from that, they can stay out. And oh my days, Cochran, you should have boxed, mate. He stayed out as well. That's not very good. No, not a very good decision, and that's I think the second safety car of this race. But we've had a lot of virtual ones as well. We've had a lot of virtual. So the fight for lead has now changed from Rockery and Akosili to Rockery and Basso. Basso is looking good because Rockery has picked up some big penalties as well. It's looking good for David Game as well, who's still not picked up a penalty. Sorry. gonna be a bit of a sprint till the end of the race here. There's probably gonna be 5 or 6 racing laps remaining. Safety car is gonna be in either this or next lap. Probably next lap, to be fair. Depending on if Nicky's AI catches up. I expect Crooken to lose that big time here. He's just got all those runners on fresh softs behind him. He should have boxed. He's on 7 lap old mediums himself. He's on older tires and on harder tires, so he's in for a hard time as well. And the SH car's not going to be in this lap, so it's going to be next lap. We're going to be seeing 6 racing laps till the end of the race. It's all between Basso, Rockery and RWB, who's managed to get himself back into the fight for the lead as well. If David Game can cling on, he might even be the one to pick up the win, seeing as he's got no penalties. Cochran then is going to be struggling, but ahead of Akosidi, who's definitely got the pace. And then Dilemma's had a good race as well, starting P18 up into P7. He's looking to make that an even better position for him. Right then, safety car in this lap, and we're in for a cracking final few laps. Of course, there's going to be no DRS in the first 3 laps, so it's going to be hard to overtake. And Basso is already controlling the speed of the pack. He's slowing it down. He's taking his time, and he knows when he wants to go. Right then, Basso's not gone just yet. He's keeping it nice and easy. And Rockery's just illegally overtaken Basso, which has gifted Basso the lead. And Rockery and RWB make contact. They're going side by side still. And Rockery manages to keep that P2, but RWB is now under threat from David Game as well. There's side by side action into the chicane as well. It's Dilemma who wins out there, and Akosidi really losing out. He's now side by side with Sergio. They make contact, and Sergio loses out. It's unfortunate, because from this angle it looked like it kind of was Akosidi's fault, to be fair. Let's get back to the fight at the front. Basso has had a great restart, partially due to Rockery already overtaking him, which was not allowed. And then RWP got squeezed out a bit, but it was kind of it wasn't even an incident, so it wasn't a racing incident. It was just good racing. Dilemma then, the only one with balls big enough to go for a move into the final chicane. No, not even he dares to go for that. He's already out of ERS, but Akosidi can't punch. looking like Basso's gonna run away with it. There's 4 laps remaining and Basso's pulled out of the DRS of Rockery, who's gone in wide at the hairpin. That's gonna enable RWB to go for a move maybe. But RWB doesn't have the best of exits himself. He also doesn't have the DRS to play with. So it's gonna be rough. He's gonna have to nail it through the final chicane here if he wants to make a move. Rockery's had a good exit. So has RWB, but he can't go for a move just yet. He'll have to wait. But he's got that DRS to play with. Basso then once again extending his gap at the front. The gap is now 1.5 seconds and I think he's gonna win this race. It's a fantastic drive from him so far. I didn't think he could pull it off, but he's not pulled it off just yet. He has to keep on going for a few more laps. And Rockery once again going in wide at the hairpin. This is going to enable RWB to breeze past with DRS assistance. Is he going to go for it into the final chicane? No, he isn't. The World of Champions is not a place for moves according to RWB. And he doesn't have the best of exit out of it as well. So he's going to have to wait one more lap at least. But there's only 3 more laps remaining, RWB. You have to hurry up, my friend. So now running away, flexing the muscles. He's doing really well for himself here. Sergio picks up a penalty, but he's in P9, so not gonna hurt him too much. Cookman, as I suspected, has fallen back. He has boxed for me for soft, but he's behind Nicky's AI even, so he's not gonna score any points today. And David Game makes a bit of a mistake. That's gonna enable Bose, who's made his way all the way back up into P5. To go for a move maybe this lap, and he might even be able to punch himself into one of the podium positions. I think Basso's win is almost guaranteed right now. RWB's P2 chances are looking ever better with him making a great move on Rockery, who seems to be struggling in the final stages of this race. Getting back though, no he can't. Bose picks up another penalty. Once again a bit of commentator's curse kicking in. David Game's got that DRS as well, so it's going to be hard for both to make a move in this final 2 laps. Although, as I speak, it's going to be very hard to make a move for both. As once again a commentator's curse kicks in and he makes another mistake, and that's his race over. He's been given so many chances with the safety cars, but he's just not grabbed them. And David Game now once again looking more and more secure for at least a podium without a penalty here. Lemon P5 as well. I'm sure he'll be happy with that if he keeps it up. Back to the front then. Rockery now 6 cents behind RWB, but I think he's got more penalties. We'll see after the race. Really gonna matter. RWB has caught up a lot of time to Basso though. Gap is now 1.7 seconds. Basso's out of ERS as well. RWB, if he gets a good run in this final lap, he might be able to go for a move for the win here, but it's going to be tough. Rockery picks up another penalty and Dilemma gets up into P4. David Game defenseless without that DRS. It's now P4 on track for F1X Dilemma. Fantastic result if he manages to keep this up. It's not going to happen for RWB, I think. The gap's 1.7. And there's only a few corners left. There's only a few corners stood in between Basso and this race win. Dilemma's really pulling away now. David Game seems to be struggling. Aqua City is still down in P6. I'm not sure what's going on here, but he's not had a good race either. I expected more of his race, seeing as his pace in qualifying was fantastic. Right then, Basso sitting pretty at the top. Rockery might be able to go for a move still. He's deploying all the batteries got left, but he's not good enough. Everyone's lights are flashing. Akosili is going for a move as well, but it's all not gonna happen. It's gonna happen for Basso though, who wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Fantastic race from him, but RWB wins it on penalties. No, that's not the case. It's David Game who wins the race. Fantastic stuff. I didn't see that coming. I didn't take a look at the penalty situation, as we usually don't. But David Game keeping it clean in the race, and that's what it's all about. He wins his first STB race. RWB in P2 picking up a very good result for the championship. Akosili, even though having a disappointing result on track, he still picked himself up a podium. Basso with all the penalties, the race win was on track, but he got P4 in the end. Rockery is gonna finish P5. Dilemma is gonna finish P6, which is a good result for him. I think he's gonna be happy with that. Driver of the day goes to Dilemma, which I think is pretty deserved. But David Game is also a big contender as he steps on the top step of the podium after a fantastic, clean race. Right then, here's your final race results. First win for David Game, fantastic from him. Great race management. RWB in P2, good for the championship. Akosili P3, Basso P4 after a win on track was ruled out due to penalties. Rockery P5 in the end. Dilemma P6, good for him as well. Sergio P7, he'll be happy. Moises P8, Salvador P9 after making contact. Nicky picking up a point even though he didn't even race. Sargento first of the he's not a non-finisher. Sargento at Bose and Crocker not scoring points, and your non-finishers are TRT Mafio, TRT Trolley, iWardy HD, Shar F1, ETE Scuderia and KTFE Dan Souza. Right then, there's gonna be no post-race podium interviews today as Maldi's not there, and that's kind of Maldi's thing. I don't want to take that away from him. If you want to, you can join TRT Mafio for the tier 3 race tomorrow at Canada as well. You can see STB Mali pick up another win there. And if you don't want to see that tier 3 farmers, then you can join us back for tier 1. Watch me in action. TRT Mafio and STB Mali will be in the combox for that. I'm not sure which track we're racing at actually. I have to check, but be sure to